5:36, let's open up the Water and Sewer Commission's meeting.
Move, please,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody, welcome. Sorry about our audio, I don't know what I'm apologizing to, but making worse. We have meeting minutes to approve?
We have one set of meeting minutes from August 8th. Do you guys have any comments or questions about them?
Do not.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion to approve the August 8th, 2023 meeting minutes of the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wait down this session, discussion, sewer connection wording.
Yeah, we're gonna have a representative from planning here to discuss some of them. I'm not sure if they were coming on for Zoom.
Do you
or
want
not.
to wait for them then?
We can.
Give it a
Or
little
we
bit?
could take it out of order. I know they had another meeting to attend later on, so. You can always come back to it, skip a bit on the meeting if you wanna.
Yes, she's been talking to me too, so.
You know, if she was attending in person.
I don't know if she was or not. All right, we want to go into superintendent's updates, and should we, if we've got to call off and...
Yeah, you can always
okay.
jump around.
Yep.
So we're gonna start off with the public reminder notices that we sent out. Back on August 18th, we mailed a total of 963 letters for outstanding bills for FY '23. Payment was indicated it was required before September 21st to avoid the demand fee that the board had previously voted to add. As of September 22nd, we had 521 accounts that remained delinquent and were assessed the $15 demand fee. The letter also stated that if the outstanding amount was not paid by December 1st, the additional fee of $50 would be charged for the lien, which would be posted on the property's real estate taxes, and that's handled by Town Hall. Last year, just for some information, we had 497 accounts actually go to lien. So pretty significant.
Do you know if they're repeat offenders?
Honestly, I do not know.
Okay.
That would take a little bit more research, but we had quite a few people actually come down and actually pay the bill. The bright
I was
yellow.
gonna say, on the right side, about 40% of them looks like came in. All right.
Yeah, the notice worked, you know,
Yeah.
it got their attention. Some people were unaware and were still trying to write it off on taxes. Others, you know, had some hardships, but the people that came in, you know, understood that it's a utility and they had to pay for it. You know, so it was nice to meet some new people. A lot of people didn't even know we existed down here.
Sure.
They just put the check in the mail when it's typically due. On to abatements. We had a closing take place for 143 Burt Street back in June, around the same time the quarterly readings were being done. However, the closing attorney never notified us of the closing date, therefore the amount actually of the MLC was incorrect and never updated based on the billing change. So when we did receive the amount, there was an error from the closing attorney in the difference of the MLC. Instead of basically trying to go back and rectify the system, you know, it's easy to look at it as a department error because of the change in the billing cycle. So we do have a request to abate $12.08 from the final bill for 143 Burt Street, Unit 5, if the board is willing to entertain that as a motion.
What was the name of the street? Burt?
I actually have it.
B-U-R-T.
He has a motion.
I have it here for you guys
The motion.
to read. I
Oh,
also
okay.
there's a couple other things that took place. Another thing was a closing took place 7 Allen Drive, 16 Country Club Way, and 87 Richardson Avenue. During the time that these took place, the rate change was in effect for FY '24. The amounts on the MLC were not updated correctly, resulting in an error. So that the new charges do not go to the new owners, it's recommended that we abate charges in the amount of $17.08 for Allen Drive, $4.50 for 16 Country Club Way, and $3.38 for 87 Richardson Avenue from the final bill amounts. That is on the paper that I provided to you guys
Yep.
there. If you're in agreement, it wouldn't need a vote.
Seems pretty straightforward to me, it's all pretty low dollar stuff. Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to abate $12.08 from the final bill for 143 Birch Street, unit number 5.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I would also like to make a motion to abate $17.08 for 7 Allen Drive, $4.50 for 16 Country Club Way, and $3.38 for 87 Richardson Avenue from the final bill amounts.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In the bills tonight, there is a letter from a resident requesting assistance from the board for a high water and sewer bill. We had notified them during our reading process of an abnormally high usage for that location. Sent a letter out ahead of the actual bill and also responded and performed a leak detection. We did find that there was a faucet out behind the house that had a hose that was on it. That had a small drip,
What's the
but
address?
it was continuous. I actually don't have the address.
Is
in
that the
front of me.
Highland Drive one?
Letter
I think I'm
right in
looking
the
at it
front
right
there.
here. Yeah.
Right there, yep.
This is the letter here, I'll check it out.
So there is some consumption reports in there. That just actually came in today, so I haven't even had a chance to look at it, but
It looks like he's just asking to abate the sewer because it was a leak outside.
Typically
He's
in
not
the
trying to have
past,
a water bill or
yeah,
anything.
we would
on it.
abate the
much,
sewer
how much
down
is the
to
sewer?
the average bill.
I'm not sure what the actual amount is. In this letter, he has 1,700 plus, but
Yeah,
we have
that's
to look
the
at it,
total bill amount.
figure out what the actual amount is.
Brooke, you don't know the average on that location, do you? I know that just came
I
in.
don't, if you give me the address, I can go look it up.
We actually have the printout.
It's 17 North Highland Drive, and the printout's right here. Is it the 176261 on that?
739.75 is the sewer.
Oh, that's the whole bill.
That's the sewer portion.
Okay, so the sewer, right there, so
Yeah.
it's 739.75.
So we'd want to return that back to the average bill for their previous quarters, because they still used some sewer. They obviously didn't use that amount because of the
Right,
leak.
right, and we need to know what that number
So
is.
in that schedule right in front of you, in your right hand.
Right here.
There should be previous payments shown for what the sewer was.
So it's 739, so going backwards, we're looking at 253, 178, 136,
Right.
86.
So typically, if we take
Oh, it's
the
getting
previous
bigger,
three
yeah.
and do an estimate on that, that's a pretty good average.
Looking at this real quick, the previous three would be, going backwards, like I said, 253, 169, I'm sorry, 178, and 136. So anybody want to break out a calculator and figure that one out? or-
You can do that in your head, Steve, come on.
Good geography.
Why don't we just make a motion to just do that and let the office figure it out?
The difference from the average.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah,
do that.
we can do that, right?
That's fine. Is that-
Okay.
That
Okay.
work for you, Brooke?
Yeah.
On your end? Very good.
All right, so
Even
the
that-
actual number, let me get that in front of me again. Where's that paper? No.
We'll screw it up.
So it's gonna be the difference from the average of the last 3 billing cycles from 739.75. Okay. Then I would like to make a motion to abate the sewer bill of 17 North Highland Road in the amount of $739.75 minus whatever the average sewer bill is of the last 3 billing cycles. Does that sound right?
That sounds
Yeah,
fine
I
to
second.
me.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's gonna be like $200 or something, so it'll end up being 500.
Yeah, the ballpark number.
Okay, cool.
We're still working on that, I'll continue. Everybody's favorite topic, we'll talk about some PFAS.
Oh, nice.
So the town manager signed on with NSPR law, Napoli Schnolik, and I know I'm probably butchering that name. This is for PFAS and PFOA litigation services.
So, so we're not going through KMP?
This is recommended by KP Law.
Good.
Um,
Okay.
I know there are other firms out there. We've had many people reach out to us from surrounding towns using different firms to basically attach some of the monies that might be coming available for these litigations. John and I actually took the better part of a week and a half. You had to go back and gather all your sampling records going back 10 years. I know Steve went through this. It is a task. Everything that we did had to be duplicated because we had multiple sources that have detection limits. So multiply all that information times 5, get it to them. There was enough information there that they agreed to take us on. And as of last week, we are actually still inputting information into the computer system. Basically, a lot of it's the same information that we've already provided to them, but apparently that's not part of their service. So we, as the plaintiff, have to add all of that in and submit the forms. And so, not sure what's going to come out of it, but you know, we have to start somewhere. You know, Norton's been very fortunate, and we haven't violated the old standard of 20 parts per trillion for PFAS 6. You know, that standard has been changed, and there is a stay on the amount that's in place right now, which is 4 parts per trillion. Multiple agencies, you know, including, you know, Norton Water, have sent letters to anybody and everybody that would listen, asking for an extension on the action level. You know, we're not saying that it's not bad, we're not saying that it shouldn't be in the water, but we want time to react. You know, we don't want somebody to flip the switch and one day it's 20 parts per trillion, the next day it's 4, and now you're in multiple violations. You're spending money on public notices, public education, where it could be better spent towards solving the issue.
Not only that, they dumb it down to 4 parts per trillion, everybody's gonna be in violation,
100%,
everybody.
yep.
And so everybody's gonna be looking for the same product. And for you to get something that's gonna be a backup of, you know, how stuff is right now.
Yep.
Stuff's gonna be a premium, it's
Not to mention
insane.
what's gonna happen
If
to
you,
the
if you go,
cost.
yeah, yeah.
So it's unfortunate, you know, at some point, Norton will exceed, just like all the surrounding communities. At that point, you know, obviously, there's corrective action that has to go into place, there's meetings, there's public education, determination if that source or sources can be taken offline, you know, to avoid basically putting the contamination into the drinking water. And, you know, unfortunately, rain events have a big effect on the aquifer. The more rain that we have, which we've had more than our fair share, definitely stirs up the aquifer, which is where this is found. You know, and again, thankfully, knock on wood, that we haven't exceeded. But I think it's only a matter of time. Either we exceed the 20 parts per trillion or the new standard at 4, which is for most of the PFAS contaminants. So, you know, anybody that spent any time in the meetings with DEP or EPA training can kind of get a good gist that basically they're looking for all the water department and water suppliers to put in a complete removal system, like an RO system or an RO and a UV, you know, because there's thousands of other contaminants that we sample for each year. We just did our UCMR 5, that, you know, we're giving them all the information on all these samples that are taken, and at some point they'll develop a standard and then a goal, and then it'll be, you know, an MCL. So when it does become time, hopefully that the townspeople and then whoever the board is at the time would look at possibly going with something better than the lowest bidder. You know, look at the future, spend the money ahead of time instead of just doing what you can to get by, you know, in the initial process of it. I know Mansfield kind of went with the same thing, oversized stations. And, you know, it's not cheap no matter how you look at it, but you know, the longer you put a Band-Aid on something, the cost is going to be
Right.
exponential at the end of it. Any luck, Jim?
I think so.
Okay. Until we have anybody on.
Anyone's not gonna make it.
They're not making it tonight? Oh, all right,
She
okay.
texted me back.
That's fine. Yeah, I know that their time was working against them.
Yeah, they're shooting for the next meeting, they said.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and I'll keep going right down here. We had a pipe failure all the way back on August 30th. Notifications came in around 6:30 in the morning. Employees from the treatment facility who were the closest to it responded first. Found that a pipe had failed on Kings Lane, which is off of Newland Street.
What do you mean a pipe failure?
I'm not gonna say it, but
Oh, the
it
B word?
didn't stay in the ground,
The B
yes.
word? Okay,
You know, water to the area was shut off rather quickly, probably about 15 minutes after the call came in around 6:45.
Oh.
The affected area actually was enlarged based on the pipe and where it had failed. There was a gate valve right up against where the failure point was. It was a leaded joint. So the only way to do it correctly was to take that valve out, put in a three-way cluster. You know, so it'd become
time consuming.
a time-consuming, involved event
Yeah.
real quick
Sure.
once we exposed what was there.
When did that happen?
That was August 30th, 6:30 in the morning that call came in. And we had crews out that night flushing in that area to about 9:30. Water wasn't discolored, but it was just air and trained, so we had to,
I didn't get
we had to
any,
get that out.
no complaints came to my place on that.
We did not get any complaints. Notices, I believe, went out that morning. I don't remember if it was Norton Alerts. I think it was. I think it was
Alerts,
an Alerts that went out.
Facebook.
So, unfortunate event, that is some of the older pipe in town down there. We were able to track by going back and looking at the SCADA system. Oddly enough, that leak had started around 5:30 with nothing on, just static pressure. And we could see that the tank started to drop a little bit quicker. Obviously, once the tank level hit, when the cycle came on for the wells, it wasn't gonna stay on the ground. So, kind of a unique situation for that type of pipe to break like that. But again, it's old, it's
What kind
in
of pipe was
groundwater,
it?
it is AC.
That's AC there.
And we had to shut down the whole K streets because of the age of the main, which is
Right.
part of the reason that if Turtle Crossing goes forward, it's our recommendation to
Upgrades.
upgrade that
Yeah.
main, because
Yeah.
there was no way to isolate it.
Sure.
Pretty much from Newcomb to the town line was totally out of water. So,
How long were they down for? Like as far as
pretty
water?
much all day,
Yeah.
pretty much
Yeah, it was
from
wild.
7 o'clock to about 2, maybe 3:15.
Yeah, we're right on the end
Even
of the day.
so, putting in a, would you have to put a cluster in or?
A full
cross?
cluster, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
It was, for
Yeah,
the
it's
response
just-
time, the amount of
pretty
work that
quick.
was involved, the guys did a great job. Move over to fire pump testing. We had 2 fire pumps that were scheduled at the Bernie and Phil's location on East Main Street on August 24th at 8 p.m. Unfortunately, the building contact never showed up, so our guys and the fire suppression guys were there for a better part of 45 minutes to an hour trying to gain access and make multiple attempts by phone. The fire department, the fire techs called it off, notified the fire department that it wasn't going to take place, and you know, everybody went home. We rescheduled those, and they were performed on Thursday, the 21st of September. Posted as a 7 p.m. start. There was some delays, and those pumps didn't actually fire off till around 9 p.m. Thankfully, not one call. You know, having
What size are those? Big. Those
those are
big?
big. There's,
Yeah.
I believe, 3,500 and 3,000 gallons per minute there.
Wow.
So we were going to use that original start date as basically a precursor to the fall flushing program, because you can't have much more of an invasive operation than having 2 pumps run back to back. And that was going to give us a target area. If, you know, unfortunately, if the K streets remained intact, that probably was going to be the start, because we were expected to see some disturbances there. But the unscheduled flushing previous to this, you know, had that area clean. And we went out and did some maintenance flushing after this. We started at Leonard Street and worked our way right down past the same location to the town line. There was no major debris, no major color. A little bit of tea was found, and everything cleared up, you know,
Good.
within minutes at each location. So it's definitely allowed us to do a lot more things with the distribution system, having the treatment facility online, than we could have ever thought of in the past.
When they do these fire pump tests,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to work any kind of overtime, do we back charge?
Yes.
We do.
So we do have some scheduled upcoming flow testing. There is actually one tomorrow morning, new building on Leonard Street, 42 Leonard. That's going to go on at 9 a.m. We have another on October 5th, 196 Mansfield Ave, brand new building, new fire pump, same thing, 9 a.m. And we have a fire hydrant flow test request at Bernie and Phil's, because they have to verify the suppression system that's there, because they're looking to do an addition.
Oh, okay.
So it's separate from the pumping test that's there. There's some concerns that they want to add what's called a wall hydrant on basically the, I don't know, the right side of the building between
Like a
Gold's
Siamese
Gym.
connection type thing?
It'd be similar to what you'd see as a Siamese connection. The fire department can connect to it and draft water from it.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of information on this building because of the age of it, and there's been multiple additions that have been performed there over the years. So we also have no proof that the fire pump was ever upgraded to handle those additions that were added. So we're asking for them to basically verify the information that the pump can handle the additional flow, the additional square footage that's there, and also handle the 3 wall hydrants that they want to install, because there's no reason to allow them to install them if it's going to have any detrimental actions to the existing facility that's there. So we're working with the fire department on that. We're working with Bernier Fills, their fire suppression company. All that data is going to get put into a computer and figure out just what is available down there. Technically, an upgrade like this would require that water main loop to go in. The building structure itself is what's limiting where that loop can go, because now you have a main under the building to connect the 2 feeds out of there. So that's obviously not something that anybody really wants to get into. So hopefully everything that they can get out of the 2 tests that they performed the other night and this test here will determine that everything has been appropriated all the way through, and that the additional yai hydrants can either be tagged off of the 8-inch main feeding the fire pump with no negative effects, or even better, off the fire pump output, because you're going to have additional flows available for the fire department that way. So quite a bit to go on to bring that location up to current standards.
Yeah, sounds like.
And hopefully the unknowns aren't going to create any issues moving forward.
If you don't know, they're just adding additional warehouse space.
Was it all of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a substantial warehouse that they're looking to add in the back
Okay.
corner of the building there. So again, it's the square footage of the building and the materials that are being stored inside there, that make the fire suppression system so key for the operations that are there. So the 2 tests that are actually being done at 9 a.m., typically a fire pump test we would have performed after hours outside of peak demand, but for the commissioning tests, we do them during the day, because they have so many people on their end that they have to coordinate for the events. It's much easier if there's a problem or if there's a part that's necessary to get it during the day than it is obviously at nighttime.
Yep.
So that's why those are done during the day and not at night. If they are a major impact to the distribution system, we'll flag it in the system and make sure that each sequential test is done at nighttime. But every once in a while, we do have a couple tests that we can run during the day with no impacts, so it's a nice option. Yeah, it's good. Okay, that goes right into the distribution flushing. So we've had crews out almost continuously all summer, basically turning water over at medium to low volume all throughout the distribution system. So we've noticed that some of the areas, obviously enough, we focus on our dead ends every few weeks. But we've noticed some drops in the disinfection limits that we have in some of our internal areas, which is a little bit strange to us, so we've been turning those areas over as well. Water's clear, but we just like to see the disinfection a little bit higher in some of the areas that we typically do see in the wintertime. So as I mentioned, the back-to-back tests were going to be the start of the flushing program. Because it was delayed, we're delayed. And talking with the operators, there's a potential that we may not actually do a full fall flushing program, because the water quality has improved so much. We may focus on our trunk lines, tank to treatment facility, make sure that that corridor is clean, and use our fire pump and hydrant tests as we have in the past to basically try and stir up the system and remove anything while the guys are out there. So it's going to save us quite a bit on operational costs. It's not cheap to run the facility, it's not cheap for the chemicals and the electricity. So as long as we can maintain water quality and do some minimal flushing, it's going to save everybody in the long run.
Do you still do the dead ends though?
We have been continuously doing the dead ends every 2 to 3, sometimes 4 weeks, depending on holiday schedules and things like that. But again, we're not seeing total zero numbers out there, but the residuals are definitely lower there because the water age is going up. So there's not a lot of demand at those dead ends. We're not to a point where we want to put like an automatic or continuous bleeder hydrant out there, but it's something we may look at in the future. Something that you can control and have it automatically start, and we can do it, nowadays by a cell phone. Have it run for an hour
Right.
at 2 in the morning where it's not going to affect anybody. you'd know exactly how many gallons you pumped, you could get your residuals. There's quite a few benefits to it. There's also some negatives. You know, if you're not there when you push the button, what's not to say that somebody's standing right next to it? You know, so there's goods and bads for everything. We were notified of a lab error. Our primary, that's not as bad as you think. Our primary lab subcontracts out our samples that we take for THM and HAA5. We had a call indicating that there was a higher than average result at 2 locations. Oddly enough, the number was exactly the same, and one location was a previous exceedance, which we would understand. Another was right next to the treatment facility, which made no sense at all.
Right.
So we don't act on the phone call. We make a note of it, start the process going, but we actually wait till we see the paper documents come in, because unfortunately, wrong things have been passed around before. The very next day, we received an email from our primary lab that the secondary lab had a numbering error. That the one sample site that we had a previous higher number at, which is the end of Richardson Avenue, still has that same number. They said they can verify and confirm that. The other sample site went from the number that it was at almost to half. And then they told us at a third sample site, which was Dean Street, the other previous exceedance, that they couldn't use the information gathered in the sample, and we have to resample. So we reached out
They
to...
give a reason why they can't use that?
No, we reached out to Mass DEP, asking if we were going to be in violation, because now our sample month was August, this was September.
Yep.
You know, thankfully, we were still in the same quarter, but we weren't in the same sample month based on the sampling. We were approved to take a resample because it was a lab error, not an error on our part. So results for the THM disinfection byproduct reporting that we have to do could be delayed. And you know, I don't think we're going to see any actions taken by DEP on us, because it's something that didn't stem from a problem that
Yeah,
we
it's a
caused.
quarterly sample. Right, they know about it, so it's not.
Right, so very unique situation. We've heard it happen to multiple other towns. But, wrong numbers got changed, wrong information.
Yeah.
You know, an address was written down wrong. You know, I think everybody's in the same boat with being short-staffed and overworked. So it's fortunate in this aspect that it wasn't something that was much worse, and the sample result that wasn't from a different sample that could have had a different outcome. But so that's where we stand on that. So our results and our paperwork will be delayed for our reporting. Jump over to Habitat for Humanity.
But you don't have to submit those, well, you have to submit them in October, right?
Yes.
Okay.
By the 10th of October, so it'll be very close. I don't anticipate having the samples back by then. Even our lab that we get samples to there is a lengthy delay, because they have to send it out west. I don't anticipate seeing them back. I need some of those. You got us bad? Sorry. You want to take the floor, Chief?
Just want to speak
I'm
into
gonna
the
take
mic.
John, I'm
and-
gonna take John's seat. Thank you very much for coming in, good to see you all, it's been a while. Is Kim Thomas, I don't see her on, she was gonna try to get on, but she's the executive director, but she unfortunately had some business down in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Yes, a little warmer, a little bit warmer than here. But long story short, as a member of Habitat, I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, to the town very much for voting the property and giving the property to Habitat. This is a first project that Old Colony's taken into Norton. We're hoping to do a few more, but you know, we'll cross that road is. The new project manager originally came to the town and to the board and just said the new construction, the PM project manager, and he's right from there. So he's like, "This is what's due," and just wrote the checks. Usually, it's usually that you approach the town and you ask for some help and so forth. And one of the things that normally I definitely instructed, kind of put the cart in front of the horse. Usually before putting this on the petition for town meeting, I would come to this board first. Unfortunately, I found out on the deadline of the warrant. So I kind of rushed to get it on the warrant, knowing that I would probably come back and ask you, or Kim would be coming to ask you for consideration of a donation for Habitat. In October, we are gonna, where they're gonna be announcing the family and so forth, and we're glad to share with this board. Yeah, we're
Where's it
excited about it.
located, Mike?
It's on Ridge Road, so it's over off of Reservoir. And you know, what's really great about it is I got involved with the project. I had no idea when I was a select board member. We had residents calling me saying, this old house is gonna be torn, and the town tear it down, and so on and so forth. And it just kind of all matched up where there was an ability to donate it. The town had ownership and ability to donate it to Habitat, and so it looks like it's moving forward. But right now, the additional fee is about 38, I believe it's 3,850 was the fee, additional fee. That, just to put that in perspective, that's typically half of a bathroom for Habitat to build, right? I would like to think Habitat's all just swinging hammers. Unfortunately, there's money that needs to be raised for materials and so forth. So I'm asking this board for consideration of, I know we've already paid it, but a consideration for the refund of the $3,850, and that will go directly, like you said, buying materials to build the house.
And the wording is exact. This would be different. It's not an abatement, it is an actual refund. It would be for the $3,850. This is the paperwork here that would need to be signed. So
And these are the water and sewer connection fees?
this is the sewer connection fee. So the original home was a 2-bedroom cottage
Okay.
that was torn down. The 3-bedroom minimum, that's the 1-bedroom difference, because they're gonna build a 3-bedroom home there. So they did come in, they paid that fee. There are other fees that would typically be associated with a new home that have not been charged yet, as far as for the water. So it would make sense that the board, obviously,
Are they gonna use the existing service?
existing
Also?
service
Okay.
and existing sewer lateral are gonna be used. But for a new home, they would also be charged the water meter setup fee, and obviously inspections and stuff every time we go there. So
Right.
I would request, as Mike mentioned here, a refund of this amount. This is from for the sewer back to them, and then we'd need an additional vote if the board so chooses, basically to waive any other fees that may be coming up for this location. I think that's the easiest way to do it, instead of trying to put a dollar amount on it, because we don't know how many times we'd go back to do an inspection. So that's where the money wouldn't be exact.
Have we built a house like this in town before?
There was one that was built on the
Mansfield
South Worcester
line.
Street extension and on the Mansfield
Mansfield
line.
line in the reservoir area.
So it's
as
just
well.
Quite a few years ago.
To be consistent, and I have absolutely no problem with this, if, to preface that. What about all the connections for the meter that you're talking about? Is that a costly thing, or do we pass that on, or we just eat that?
We would eat that cost.
Okay.
The house that was built on the South Worcester extension did not have water and sewer available to it based
Okay.
on its location.
All right.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I know, I wanna say it was Columbine, all the way down to the
Oh,
end.
yeah,
I think they have both water and sewer. I know I installed a meter in that house when I first started
Okay.
here, so,
How long ago was that, John?
probably 5 years ago, yeah, about 5 years ago.
all right.
So, not, Frank is aware of this, but in my previous life, I was a board of directors of South Shore Habitat for Humanity, and was responsible to build, involve with 54 homes for South Shore.
This is the first one I'm involved with, so you know, you've got me by a lot. You've got me by a
And we would
lot.
always ask the towns to waive the fees,
Yeah.
building, water, sewer, the whole works.
And they usually did. pretty
Oh,
much. So
everybody
is-
did.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with this.
Just curious, sorry,
No, go ahead.
just curious, do any private utilities give you guys the same courtesy, or
It really depends on the project, and it's a case-by-case basis.
Steve? Did that ever happen with you, like for gas or anything like that?
Yeah, everybody was very generous.
Great.
As they should be,
And-
just
Yeah.
curious.
And one of the things that's kind of one of the misnomers about Habitat, it really is, you're not giving the person the house.
Mhm.
You're basically giving them, reducing the financing fees and so forth. So it's kind of housing up, you know? So we're just trying to kind of help close the gaps of the expense of the house. That's one of the big, everyone thinks that it's a free house. It's not.
How do they determine what family gets it?
it's the application to
The application.
Yeah,
Okay,
application.
so
Very
if
thorough.
families apply.
Very
to do-
thorough,
Okay.
evaluation.
And when we do launch, which will be in the spring, we'll hopefully, when the house is completed, we'll ensure that this board gets an invite to the house opening and so
That's
forth.
great, though. Yeah, this is a great thing for the town.
So just so I know the numbers, this right here is to refund the sewer connection that's already been paid.
Correct.
And the water connection fee for the meters and stuff is something that will come up later.
Right, so we'd want to have a vote to waive any additional fees upcoming for this location.
So they have to come back for every single thing that if it comes
Okay,
up.
so but the fees that we'll be waiving for that is like a one-time fee, that's not, we're giving carte blanche for the next 40 years to waive
Construction
any
and-
fee that
just
comes
for
up,
this.
right?
Construction and inspection fees.
Construction
Is
and
it better?
inspection fees.
Habitat,
Okay.
once they give the house, they give the house to the owner, and then at that point, it's their responsibility
Okay.
for any of the other.
I'm okay with this, it's not really a
Thing.
tremendous amount of
That's
money,
pretty-
so.
Pretty cut and dry. I like it.
Do we want to do that in two different motions then, or?
Because there's two separate fees here, that one there,
Keep it
3850 is
separate.
sewer. the
Okay,
others would be water.
I will start then by making a motion to refund to, is this to Habitat for Humanity?
Yes.
Um,
Old Colony Habitat for Humanity.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to refund to Old Colony Habitat for Humanity the amount of $3,850 for their sewer connection.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay. And now I will make a motion to waive upcoming water connection fees for same address, Old Colony Habitat for Humanity.
I second.
Right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We will need
Good.
a signature on that when
Yep.
you guys are ready.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
welcome.
We appreciate it.
Kind of a
Appreciate
no-brainer.
work.
Definitely a no-brainer.
Oh, I guess we don't need everybody's right, it's just a regular.
Oh, it's
Doesn't
not
matter.
dangerous, what the heck.
Doesn't matter. A little more work never hurts.
Should I file this in here, or?
Yes.
Thank you all, gentlemen, appreciate all the
See you.
work.
Take care of
You're
yourself.
welcome, good to see you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Jump right into Belfour Farm. Still here, Al?
Yep.
Good evening.
Yeah,
Aye.
how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm the owner of Balfour Farms, and I'm here looking for your help. I got it, I'm trying somehow to get my road paved before bad weather.
Yeah.
And I know we're still in the approval process of what, trying to figure out what's gonna happen in the easement and how we're gonna tie into Briggs and so forth. I'm just looking to be able to put in the pipe on, out to the end of my road at my own peril for the water and the sewer. Obviously, I wanna get inspections from you guys, but at my own risk. I mean, if we did the tap into the main, I'd pay you the fee. Obviously, you guys control the gates, we don't touch, we're not turning anything on, we don't do anything. I'm hoping that in the next, we do have a set of plans with us, we have been communicating back and forth. I think on the sewer side of things, and I may be but we had a Zoom meeting, everybody, we were looking for the board, I think, to authorize a peer review that obviously we're paying for. And then on the water side, we're prepared to do whatever you guys want. We're not holding back. I know there's a question of location of hydrants and the easement. Are we doing a loop back to Briggs? Are we doing a loop back to ourselves? Whatever you guys want, but I know there's gonna be a water main going down the street that I'm building presently, no matter what. And there's gonna be a sewer force main with services, same thing. If there's a way that I can get you guys to authorize me to do that, again, at my own risk, my own peril, but I do need inspections so that, once we do get the final approval, we say, all right, we did inspect it, we did do it, we used the right materials, we had a situation, thank God, Frank had somebody go out and look at our pipe, the supplier sent us the wrong pipe, the new pipe's on its way. That's what we're looking for.
So, you're gonna hot tap the main, you're gonna do a tap and sleeve valve?
Yep.
Uh,
Do it, what,
Because that's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
Tap and sleeve valve and go from there as
Yeah.
opposed to
Stop.
stubbing it.
No, I don't want to
stubbing it
stop.
and-
No,
okay.
well, let's get it done, we're gonna do it anyways. So
Yeah.
it's inevitable it's gonna happen, whether it's next week or 3 weeks
Right,
from now.
right.
So,
I get it.
So,
And are you guys familiar with what he's talking about?
Not
On-
100%, no.
On Pine Street?
I know where it's talking about.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Why don't we have Frank explain where we are in this project from our end of it?
Yeah, so we've seen preliminary plans on both water and sewer. John and I and others from the sewer department looked at it, had a few questions. We started talking with the engineers for both water and sewer, having those questions answered, and it basically turned into a pre-peer review. You know, some of the information that was there, especially on the water side, was a little bit more involved, looking at the cross-country connections, because the water mains are rather lengthy in the cross-country loop to get the water main from the development out to Briggs Street. So the last thing we wanted to do was create any type of water quality issue, you know, basically by putting this in and either not having hydrants in place or not having them in a position where flushing the main for maintenance, you know, would make sense. So I know Ben Rollins from Weston and Sampson and I had quite a few meetings back and forth. He had run some calculations using computer simulated models for flow, and got to a pretty good understanding that there is going to be some relocation of the hydrants, and it's their recommendation that at least one hydrant be installed in the middle of each of the cross-country runs. So that's going to trigger, like Al and I had talked, once that path is cut through there, it's going to become popular. It's going to be cut through, it's going to be a nature walk.
Yeah.
It goes out to the MFN interceptor pipe, which is now a paved path. So it's going to be popular. We're going to need to have access to that location, especially if there's hydrants there. You know, so the HOA would have to maintain it, whether it's grass or gravel, you know, still yet to be determined. And I'm sure the fire department would be on board with having a second means of egress to that
Sure.
location, even if it's for some of their smaller vehicles, not necessarily an actual truck. So there's multiple benefits to this. You know, there's still some finalization that has to be done, which would be done with the peer review, which we anticipated we would have asked for at the last meeting that was canceled. So we're 2 weeks behind. So that's why I was here now asking, you know, for the board to allow him to start the project, knowing that he's going to have to do things per spec and per the plans. I don't see, and not saying anything bad, I don't see you getting very far within 2 to 3 weeks' time that it's going to cause any detrimental impacts to the
no,
project.
I'm gonna stop at the end of the cul-de-sac. So whatever happens in the easement, we
Right,
we
it's
do it
simple to
after
do
you
later.
guys have
Yep.
figured out what you want me to do.
You just want to pave the area that's going to be.
Whatever's gonna get paved, that's what I
Show
want.
us the drawings.
I get that.
Sure.
Right,
Mike.
just trying to get stuff, you know, moving forward before the weather gets any
Yeah.
worse than that. So we would need a vote, obviously, for the board to move to full peer review for both water and sewer. At that point, Al would make an agreement with Weston and Sampson. We expect the process may go a little quicker because they've already had preliminary reviews done.
Okay, good.
There were very minor changes that were necessary. Most of it was clarification of what we saw on the print.
So the sheet, yeah, the sheet that we're really talking about, I think is sheet 3.
As far as access to the easement, obviously we're gonna make, you know, it is gonna be, like he says, it's gonna be a popular walking bike path. I mean, it's our intent that, obviously, we don't want vehicular traffic going through there. Nobody does, because that's just gonna cause a problem. So, at some point, maybe we're gonna have to do something where there's a very simple chain gate or something to keep, you know.
Something that the fire department can have.
I don't know how the fire department deals with it the best way, that, you know, something that they can do with bolt cutters quick, or, I don't know, I'm sure they don't carry around a key ring.
They have a Knox box that they'll put on the
Oh.
gate
Oh,
with a
okay.
special key for it.
There you go.
We have the same thing. The MFN uses the same thing with the double swing gate.
This is a 2-inch handle.
So whatever
You
we
probably
gotta do.
seen down the end of Brick Street there, they have the 2 gates on that
Yep,
interceptor pipe there.
yep.
Yeah, It'll deter vehicle traffic. It isn't gonna stop them if they wanna get in there, but we need
100%,
something in
but we
place.
gotta try, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
and that's, I believe that, you know, that bike path is gonna be a huge attribute to our development and our.
You're right, though, if a vehicle can fit in it, eventually someone's gonna be like, oh, I can get to town much quicker if I just.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
don't,
we can't.
that's why I don't think a gravel road or.
Al,
or
how
a-
long is the first phase to the cul-de-sac?
2,200 feet. The total water main from Pine Street to Briggs, to the connection on Briggs is about 3,600. For this one phase, the other
And you're
phase,
using the C909 pipe, is that what you're using?
that's what we're using, yeah.
2100.
Oh, what, 2100?
Is it 21? All right, maybe, all right, I was off.
What was the pipe that was gonna come?
It was 909, but the wrong 909.
Oh.
Not the right pressure class.
Yeah, the pressure class was lower, and we had went over this in great length with the engineers when we were looking at options for what we wanted. And, you know, a 235 pressure class is kind of low for the pressures that we run, and if there was ever anything connected to it, you know, we
Oh,
would definitely want the
The
best.
spec is the spec. I mean, you know, that's why when I give a materials
Well, it's
list
the
to
same
people,
as the fittings, right?
I tell them,
Rated
yeah,
for, right?
I tell them that what I, you know,
Yeah.
the job is in Norton, meet the spec. I don't want to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, guess what? Now that pipe's in Texas. They're just waiting for a truck to get in here.
Right, right.
It's on its way. So I apologize, you know, for any, but we, you
It
know,
happens, that absolutely happens.
I'm just happy.
But as long as you can get the pipe.
Well, I told, oh no, we got, the pipe is located and purchased, it's just gonna get here, it's just, I just told the supplier, I said, you know, you owe these guys dinner, because if that pipe ever got in the ground, and we found out it was wrong, yeah, that wouldn't have, so anyways,
So what do we specifically need to vote on for them for tonight, just to let them start construction?
Yeah, our rules and regulations state that we have to have, the board has to approve the final set of plans for the project before they're able to move forward. Where this isn't gonna be a full project being completed, it's gonna be a portion of it. You know, I don't see any major negatives to it. We're gonna be there, we're gonna be doing inspections, obviously, not John and myself, but the crew will be there. You know, everybody knows Al, we know the site, it's something that will pop by on a regular basis. The only thing we do have to narrow down is the hydrant placement, which is a pretty simple thing to do.
And that's in the second phase anyways, right?
No, this phase will have hydrants on it.
the hydrants on the road, I think, are you good with,
I
right?
thought those were all set.
The end of the cul-de-sac is what was being questioned.
Oh, okay.
If there was gonna need to be an additional hydrant at the cul-de-sac and in the middle to make up the distances.
Okay.
So
In the
this,
middle of the
We did.
easement?
yes, in the middle of the easement.
Are we pulling up?
Yeah.
Call it cross-country line.
Is that the right one?
One there.
Right,
Yeah.
Dave?
One there.
Yep.
Yep, that one right there.
Okay.
You got
And
everything,
again-
you got everything squared away with conservation as far as they're not gonna give you problems putting the stuff in.
We're 100% with conservation, yeah.
Okay. So we're not approving final plans, we're just allowing them to start construction.
And authorizing them to do, what's the intent to do a peer review?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to go ahead and make a motion to allow the Balfour Farms project to begin construction and authorize them to have a full peer review through Weston and Sampson for water and sewer.
Is that the right motion?
That sounds good to me.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much,
Awesome.
gentlemen.
Greg,
Thanks.
Appreciate your
Good
help.
seeing you. Nice
Okay.
to meet you.
Thank you.
They're very nice.
Don't leave those in? Yeah. Unless you want. No, I don't.
You need them?
Yeah.
We love hard copies.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, Greg.
Have a good day.
Greg.
Thanks, guys.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Steve.
So we have the PDF, the ones that were sent today.
You have the PDF.
Yeah. We can take this one, or if you want to have a hard copy here, we can print one out of it.
I prefer to have a hard copy.
Leave
so
the
we
hard
can have
copy here,
the
so
field.
yeah. If I'm just gonna bring it home and then I can send you a hard copy, then
Whatever you need, that's fine. Well,
It looks like 2 copies.
even better.
we'll take one.
So, they're building the infrastructure and they're selling the lots, is that what they're doing? Or
That's-
they're building the houses
We
too?
just need to get
I
an
believe they're
order.
building everything. And that's, I think, his push to get in, get the binder coat down, so
Yeah,
that
he
he
did
can
so.
get his utilities and everything else in his subs.
Yeah, this is
He
the,
wants,
pump
he wants to
station.
pave it before the snow falls.
This is for this project?
So they're using Liberty Pump
Yeah.
instead of environmental one.
Yeah, 'cause we have.
Yeah, it's just a different brand and it has a different flow rate based on the RPMs that they spin. Still a very good brand. It's
Yeah, I
just
looked over the whole thing.
nothing that's caught on in town yet, but I think the cost,
I said.
you know, is a little bit better than the E1 system pumps, but
But it's their private.
yes. The intent is for this development to, at some point, be accepted by the town. They're building everything to meet town spec. You know, obviously, there'd be an HOA for the private portions of the utilities, which would include the pumps and everything into the houses, but the main trunk line is being developed so that it would be taken over by the town at some point, which seems to be the common theme these days. I don't know if the towns benefit from it or not, based on the additional square footage in town.
Oh, I don't want
There has to be some benefit to the town taking it over because it adds a tremendous amount of expense by adding all these additional miles of road, you know, for paving, drainage,
Yeah,
and
although you gotta
plowing.
plow it.
Right, you know, exactly, it all adds up pretty quick.
But there's, I don't know, I think I added, is there like 80 houses or something? 80 lots or something like that?
No, there's
Maybe half of that.
I think 22 and 22.
Oh, okay.
On this setup here.
And then there's a whole Pine Street.
I think they wanna-
There is some land on the other side of the road that I believe is also owned by the same developer. To be determined on what could or might be able to go there. About full of stone.
I don't know if that's
The other project that I know, I believe we sent a copy over to you, is the Zero Reservoir.
Yeah.
Seems to be the common tag for properties that don't have an actual address. So that's the large development, I believe 3 units. I'm trying to think of how many it was.
The one these guys came in, it's,
Yeah, they met
Yeah, the one that we're going for gravity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Weston and Sampson did a preliminary review on that. We would need a vote to go full peer review. A set of plans that I've seen that's been passed around basically gave us an idea that the gravity sewer main would go in the, not even Google directions, what lane would it be? Heading out of the center towards Mansfield. Northerly?
Yeah. No. South.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
It's going from the corner of Reservoir Street to Mansfield Ave
Correct.
towards Taunton.
Okay.
oh, towards Taunton.
Towards the center of town.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's south.
That's south.
The only area that we saw that was a conflict is where it meets Reservoir Street. For some reason, they went from one side of the road to the other, almost to the curb. That's exactly where the water is, and that's exactly where the new water main for Reservoir Street connects with a 3-way cluster. So they wouldn't have the separation that's required, and, you know, 10-foot recommended, 6-foot minimum. They would definitely have problems with the drainage that's also over there, the state drain. So we've sent emails back and forth, and I have yet to see if they've changed their plans or if they've just taken it under advisement.
Is that a new one made there?
This project is.
This one becomes zero.
Just the reservoir.
This is zero.
That is a newer,
I was just about to ask.
newer
for that,
old
actually.
ductile
I said it would probably be
12-inch
easier to
ductile.
call Zero Mansfield.
That's
Yeah, so
the-
this is Zero Mansfield Ave. Zero Reservoir is
The other one is zero reservoir.
the one who wants to go down Reservoir to Rome.
I got my zeros wrong.
I also know that they were before Zero Mansfield, was before Conservation last night, and I haven't heard anything negative coming out of that, so.
Zero
that means
reservoir?
Mansfield.
So, we have seen the detailed plans for zero reservoir up here, to build a gravity sewer back
Yep. The
past
1%
Elm,
grade, yeah.
and then a little low-pressure sewer system. And they downscaled their plans over
Yes.
time, so they're not building a lot in the grand scheme of what they originally did up there. And they're looking for us to go, so we're gonna enter into a peer review
Do a peer
agreement
review with them.
Do we need to do the water
For
also?
a final. Water's pretty basic there. I'm not sure if there'd be any concerns about it unless there's something they can't meet on our end. I mean,
It needs fire. What
I
are
think it
they
was
building?
just-
no, they were just regular homes that
Oh,
had
okay.
there.
With
Large,
a couple
but
of
they-
hydrants.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think there's that
So,
much involved.
and they had
with water.
pretty detailed plans that we skimmed them, kind of started to make some comments, but before we finalize it, we need to go into agreement with them. My concern is, or the one concern I guess would be, is we're doing a peer review of a project that's flowing towards
Rumford Road.
Rumford Road, which we have to do an analysis, and it might very well be able to handle what we're talking about here as well as the homes along the way.
It wasn't like,
But if we ultimately would prefer them to go the other way, once these guys build theirs, then we might have to go back to the drawing board, so. I mean, I guess it's still worth, they've gone to this effort, it's worth, doing the analysis. The only thing we haven't done in terms of the downstream capacity, the sewers can handle it fine, it's just the Rumford Road pump station, so we would need to get out there and do a drawdown test and look at the structure that's out there and see.
I think it's only like 25 houses, even with the houses along the way. It's not
Yeah,
many.
it's
Yeah.
been cut down
It's been
significantly.
cut down significantly.
I still find it hard to believe that it would be, well, if Rumford Road needed any upgrades, that it would be more effective, more cost effective for them not to just wait for the Mansfield Ave, or try to come to some working understanding with them. I know you're kind of waiting on one project
it's-
and at the mercy of another project, but.
So if that's Zero Reservoir,
Yeah,
wants to go that way, they pretty much have to wait for them to be done
right, the only way they would go that way is
Otherwise,
if
they
this
gotta go
sewer's in
all-
place, yeah.
the whole way, okay, so
And
they
it
wouldn't
would
want to do
be,
that.
Isn't there some improvements to go to do
And then they
that
would need
station
to-
down there on Rumpin Station, is that what it is?
That's
Well,
what we're trying to
now
discuss, is
that
how much it would take.
They had originally this was supposed to be like, I want to say like, it was either apartment buildings or like I think it was multiple multifamily buildings originally that were supposed to go there. I can't remember, but I know the planning board had pushed back on them a lot, so they cut it down to like, I want to say it was like 13 or 14 houses. So I'd say there's a good chance that Rumford Road's probably not gonna need anything major as far as upgrades, I mean. It was definite that it was going to need it before, you know, I don't.
I do think, I forget, I was trying to look at my email, but the length of sewer is shorter for that. It would be more expensive, a longer length for them to go the other way.
Even if the Zero Mansfield
Yeah, they would
road had
only,
already been
they
in
would have a
place, it still
sewer to
would be
here,
longer?
they'd need to come
Okay.
down Reservoir to here. So in the comp plan, they happen to be right at the high point, so
Yep.
kind of between these two orange parcels, where that house is there's a high point.
Okay, so they come
So
out
this is a
there.
needs area, it's where Reservoir, this piece was shown going this way, exactly how they've laid it out, and then the piece right, the gravity meter, and the one that you were talking about, that you guys ended up using at Howard Street, is that what
Yeah,
they're?
that seems to be the best option for us, just because we know it works. I know the MFM had recommended a different style meter.
Yeah, they had recommended basically a meter that straps right onto the force main.
Yep, which are more accurate, but with the two
The
of them.
concern is with
This is
the
the
amount of
intercept
flow.
sewer right here.
Yep.
Coming in here. Fourth main, right here.
Yeah, so it's, looking at it upside down, so the
Force main, manhole.
manhole interceptor, so this is new since the set of drawings
And
that I had
that's
looked
the- and
at,
that's
so
the
that's,
meter- and
they
that's the
added
meter
it
manhole.
as a meter manhole in the middle.
Is this section of Briggs Street, that's like in the woods, right? That's not
Right.
houses along that, that's the,
Yeah, this is
The
cross,
car-
this is all cross country.
Coming all the way through.
Yeah,
Yep,
right.
yep.
So there's a little bit of the wind,
okay.
exaggerated, of course. I looked over the drawings, I thought they were done very well. Greg and I are very good friends, by the way, the engineer and I.
Okay. So we'll look at that. So, yeah, I was looking at, I mean, if we were gonna do it on the force mains, we could create a vault where the two force mains come out, and then we could put a vault in and get enough straight run, you know, keep them separate, keep the two pipes separate, and then have the meter, you know, transducer on each of the pipes. I had some concerns with the elevations, because we're kind of, there's dips, like when the pumps turn off, it's gonna be hard to keep, those pipes are gonna drain.
Drain out, right.
And then when they turn back on, it's gonna throw your readings off. So we would have to come up with a way to make sure that when the pumps turn off, that the flow's in the pipe. So we would have to artificially, so it wasn't simple,
Yeah.
it was complicated. I didn't get very far with it, other than to know that was gonna be the issue, because I haven't been engaged to do the formal period. So now we'll, but yeah, if you're gonna build a stormwater meter readings, that's just yours. So if you're looking for some redundancy, probably what they're proposing there will do the trick.
That's good. Good. So do you think you can do this within a couple of weeks?
Yeah, you're in good shape to.
Yeah, so we, for the water side, Frank asked us to run the model anyway already, so we've done our initial at least model review, and then we just need to kind of put together our, just recopy Ben's email, but put it into an actual official letter that matches with theirs, and any recommendations that Frank and John have and the rest of the crew with. Fire department's fine with hydrant spacing, I think we're pretty good, and we already talked about the tapping sleeve at the one side, so. I haven't looked at, I don't think I was CC'd on
Pine
any
Street
email.
is what?
Today's email.
What's the type of material?
Ductile iron, that was just replaced,
Good.
2020,
2 years ago?
2 years
COVID,
ago already?
2020.
2 years
Oh,
ago.
that's the one
Sorry.
that my friends did.
Which ones are those?
KJ.
JSL. KJM, right.
Those
KJS.
KJS.
They were a good company, weren't they?
Yeah, they're good, yeah.
Yeah, those were my buddies.
Quick.
I mean, it was a great time. There was nobody outside because it was COVID.
That's
the
when I
first
met
month
you on
of
site,
COVID.
you know. I make
You're
that
lucky.
case. I was
Okay.
on the water commission of it.
Yeah, I was.
'Cause I know the contract.
I was the only person that wanted to be in the
I-
COVID atmosphere. That
They had
was.
just finished doing a big project for me, so they told me they were working in my backyard, so I came out during
Okay.
COVID to take a look at it. We're currently doing a project together.
So we do have one. We had one well, these future. I think we left a 6-inch line at one spot, but the other one obviously, they were coming from two different access points. So we just need. That's why the tapping sleeve gate was in that spot. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate it won't be able to be reused, but we might be able to jump a hydrant on it at some point and just keep it as a connection that's there. So,
tried to anticipate. But
no, exactly. If we didn't put it, that'd be exactly where it needed to be.
Right.
Just the way it works. All right, jump over to Leonard Street. At the upcoming town meeting, you're gonna see an article presented by Condyne. They're the company that worked on the Leonard Street Business Park over there. They're requesting that one of the roads, which we commonly know as the Yale Building Road, be accepted as a town road. So this is the road that was put in and the water main loop that actually connects Leonard Street to Janet Street. I don't know if you remember that way back when.
Yeah, I remember that.
Does Janet Street run into the new development like off of Burt?
Janet is off of Burr
Okay,
Street,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
So they want to see if that'll be accepted by the town as a town road. Basically transfer ownership of it and maintenance over to the town. There would be, I believe there's 5 fire hydrants that are added that would become town-owned. And there's 3 that are going to be remaining private and privately maintained based on the locations around the 2 buildings that are there. So we were actually down there this week. They're doing final pavement this week. And we went down to do a preliminary walkthrough. Unfortunately, we were down there and found that the gates were all paved over with the binder course. So we couldn't verify the actual locations of them on the plans. They've been dug up. There is still, I think, 1 or 2 that needed to be located. So there were some site alterations that were done based on some obstructions that they found in the ground where they wanted to drop a T. They come up with this monstrous boulder, so they're able to work around it, move 20 feet up the road, put the T in, and then just run the lateral through the parking lot instead of through the grass where they wanted it to. So there's been some changes. Some of the hydrants were refaced, so they face the road, but the gate valve's actually off to the right and to the left of it, not in front of the SEMA port where you would commonly assume it would be. So some final plans have to come in, confirmation on those other gates, and then once final pavement is done, we'll go back and do the final walkthrough, make sure we can physically get on. Nothing was damaged or anything like that. So we have no problems with the town accepting it as town road. I don't know where the highway stands as far as drainage or anything like that. There is sewer in this area, and the sewer actually going to remain private. So there's a sewer pumping station that's down here, sewer mains, gravity and force that connect to the other portion of Leonard Street up near 123 where the larger pump station is. And all of that right now is still going to remain completely private, but their long-term goal is to turn it over to the town, either to sell it to the town or give it to the town, which kind of falls back on the wording of those articles that we have in place.
Yeah.
Where if it was initially privately funded or publicly funded, or transfer of ownership.
So they want the town to take ownership of the road, but they're not looking to transfer over the utilities.
The water will transfer.
The water, but not
the
the sewer
drainage
for now.
But not the sewer for now.
So the water connects to another road, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, it does.
That makes sense.
So that
Why would they not want to turn the sewer over right away too?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I think that they would know that we're not
Does the
ready
sewer
for it
punch
yet.
through to Burr Street too?
No, the sewer ends at this property, so you'd have the option to expand it using
Yeah.
Janet Street to go Burt Street, which would open up some opportunities for us in the future, providing that the pumping station that's there is large enough. From talking with our sewer department that was there, they were floored by the condition of what was installed. GVC is known for doing things on the higher end of things. And they were very impressed with what was there, so nice to know, you know, Bruno came from, was it Attleboro, North Attleboro?
North Attleboro.
So he's seen, you know, a few other stations. You know, Howard was also equally impressed with what's there and the work that's been done, you know, throughout the whole project, so. Nice when we have companies come in that, you know, we're happy with the workmanship.
Good.
So that definitely would be a town meeting article that you guys should be aware of.
I assume they give us as-built.
Yes.
We should make sure they're actually as-built.
Oh, we do.
Okay.
And that's how we ended up where we are now, knowing that there's a couple gate valves that were relocated.
Yeah.
So
Is that article coming up this month, or is that gonna be?
it will be in the fall
It is
town
in the
meeting.
fall,
Yeah.
okay.
John and I met with both the capital and finance committees. And for the capital committee, we were asking for their support for an additional $100,000 to be taken out of the sewer retained earnings to fund phase 2 at Cobb Street. So we already had $300,000 that was approved at, I believe it was the May 21st, May 2021 town meeting, based on estimates. And I don't know if you guys remember, we started with phase 1, which was the generator and the electrical. We had such a huge delay and an unknown on the generator and transfer switch that we decided to move forward with phase 2,
Yep.
anticipating that that would be done prior to the generator coming in. And it just about came down to that. So the monies that were appropriated back in 2021, 300,000, are now lower than they need to be based on when the bids came in. The lowest bidder for phase 2 at Cobb Street came in at $286,625. Add in the engineering costs of $55,000 and the contingencies, and it actually brings the total up to $399,625. So the extra $100,000 would bring us up to the $400,000 mark. There's a lot of unknowns with this portion of the project, so this is the wet well improvement portion of it. Supplemental pumping would actually isolate the wet well from the existing conditions, do a temporary suction and pump from the manhole in the street down and tube it into the basement of Cobb Street so that the work can be completed in the wet well. So unfortunately, as we explained to you know, the capital committee, nobody's seen the bottom of this wet well in 25 or 30 years. The possibilities are there that it could need significant repairs.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that maybe it needs a minor repair, but you know, that's why the contingency is so wide on this operation. You know, once you're there, you have no option but to repair it. You know, it's just to come up with whatever the best solution is at the time. There was a special coating, I believe, that we had talked about that's gonna go down.
Yeah. So the way we put the bids out is there's a lump sum price for all these repairs, which includes the final coating of the wet well, making it, you know, good as new. But as part of it, they're also gonna do a structural analysis. Once they get it dry and you can see everything, you know, before they coat it, they're gonna do a structural analysis. And then we have bid items with assumed quantities for repairs. We don't know until they do. So instead of paying somebody to draw the wet well down ahead of time, do the analysis, and figure out what repairs were needed, we're gonna just draw the wet well down once with the contractor. They gave unit prices for like 5 or 6 different types of repairs. And once we figure out from the analysis which repairs are needed, we have the bid items to do it. So it's a little, you know, we have estimated quantities in there that bring us to the number we're at now. We might not need any of it.
Yeah.
Most likely we're gonna need some of it, and then we tried to be extra conservative. If we were going back to town meeting, we said, well, let's just make sure, you know, we don't wanna
Makes perfect sense.
get there and not have enough money to do what needs to be done. So
This is
hopefully it'll
a
come much less than that.
home renovation project times 10. It's a wet well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So how did the meeting go with Capital?
We presented everything to them, and they were gonna deliberate at a different time and get back to us.
Yeah.
You know, we explained everything, basically, we have to do this project, there's not, you know, oh, let's wait till
It's a
later.
matter of time,
You know,
yeah.
you know,
If you don't, if we don't do it now, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna get cheaper.
25 to 30 years.
More eventually, so.
That's frustrating, but you know, prices are going up, and the scope crept a little since 2020 when the monies were appropriated. I think those are the answers. I
Yeah,
don't think it's a big deal.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the
it's-
fear is that West, the whole
The West
West
Main,
Main
yeah,
Street
right.
thing still lingers over us, how many times we had to go back on
Mhm.
that, so.
So this will hopefully be an article you see at town meeting. We're looking for, obviously, the capital committee support and also FinCom. We spoke with FinCom about that at the meeting. Was it last night we had? Yeah, it seemed we've had nonstop meetings.
What kind of feedback do you get?
Basically the same. They understand the situation that we're in. They were gonna take it under advisement and talk about it at another meeting, I assume. Whether they have executive sessions or however they discuss all these things.
Have their recommendations done yet for the articles at town meeting, like they normally do already?
I honestly don't know.
I guess the question is, there a public,
I didn't move on the things we presented in front of them last night, so.
Right.
so I guess the answer is no.
So if they don't take no action on the article, then it's up to us to have to move it at town meeting, right, if we want it?
And then there was the meeting we had last night. You want to take this one?
Yeah, sure.
FinCom.
So we had to go back to FinCom because when we had submitted our budget before town meeting, spring town meeting, the collective bargaining agreements weren't finished yet. So basically we were operating on a rough 3% raise across the board for our employees. And some of those actually were a little bit less, like the way the percentages worked, but the main union, that is the majority of our employees, asked me, they took some steps away from the beginning and added some steps on the end. So people who are at top rate actually moved up a step and got a percentage raise. The percentage raise wasn't 3%, I think it was 2.5, so people that we knew what step they were gonna be at actually were making a little less than we anticipated, but the guys at the top step all went up a step, and we had we fund an extra water position that went from like $22 an hour to $27 an hour, because based on the minimum pay rate for the job. So, that was for water, and then for sewer, it was the same issue, and we had an employee that we had originally thought was gonna retire in July, is now retiring in the middle of the fall. So we had to, basically, we weren't anticipating funding him for that long. We were thinking he'd be done by the end of July. So I think for water, we were asking for just under 9,000 in salary, and then sewer, it was maybe almost 17, but it was because of that, him working for 3.5 months
Right,
longer than
right.
expected. So, and then there was also an additional request because of having to pay short-term principal on a borrowing because of the auction cost money not having come through yet. We've short-term borrowed for so long that we need to pay something. And so basically it was like 32,000 for water and 16,000 for sewer, and they want a breakdown of what collective bargaining agreement numbers went up and what didn't, but the collective bargaining agreement's already signed, so there's really not anything that's gonna be, I put together a nice little spreadsheet today showing the differences, so hopefully that'll get wrapped up pretty quickly.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Pleasure.
I had a quick question. You guys did a motion for a peer review at Balfour Farm. Did you need to do that for Zero Mansfield Ave as well to move forward? Motion was never made for that.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
So
we
for
were
Zero
talking
Reservoir,
about that.
I don't have anything to review
Okay.
at this point, unless you have something for Zero Mansfield.
I have electronic plans, but I believe what I wrote down here was talking about that other one for the gravity sewer. Not the gravity sewer, the pressure sewer going down the road. So No, we won't make a vote on that.
Okay, so that's-
I'll clear that up, and
But do you want to make a vote on Zero Reservoir?
we should, for that one with the
Vote
the
to
1% grade, I
Right.
don't know if we ever did that.
So we did.
Okay.
And you're just looking to have sewer done, right? 'Cause
I don't-
it's-
I don't think
yeah,
the
If it
water's
was the
gonna come into
larger
play.
original complex, I think we would have, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty basic with that. So, yeah, good catch, Brooke, thank you.
So we can go ahead and vote on that?
Yes.
And that's a peer review for sewer, for
Zero Reservoir.
reservoir, okay? I'd like to make a motion then to have Weston and Sampson do a peer review for Zero Reservoir for sewer.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Brooke.
Yeah, thank you.
You can take the next meeting.
No, that's okay. You got it.
Got anything, John?
We had a new truck delivered today.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how long we waited for that.
What truck is
December,
this?
we ordered it in December.
What is this
Sounds all
about?
right.
It's an F600, medium size, well, large non-CDL dump truck. And I mean, it's a very good looking truck. There's a couple things we still aren't 100% satisfied with, so we're combing through it, but it's
What's
here.
it, a six-wheeler?
Yeah, F600. So it's like it's a 550 with what do they do to it?
It's got
The
the
shed.
bigger springs.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely has the GVW that we need. You know, anytime you use like a 1-ton dump, a small 6-wheel dump, a couple pieces of asphalt in there, and you're right about at the maximum that
Yeah,
the
right.
truck's supposed to carry. You a couple scoops of mud, and you're overweight. So not only are you beating up the truck, but it's dangerous. You know, you're overworking the brakes and everything like that. So those trucks have their place. You know, maybe cemetery department or something like that, or a landscape trailer. But we definitely need to step up to something that was, you know, double the capacity of what the 1-ton would hold, and try and keep it under CDL just so the majority of the people can still operate it here. So at some point in the near future, we will be putting the 1-ton up on municipal, but I believe that what we may do, because we actually did, I remember we talked about kind of cleaning up one of the older trucks that we had because the prices on the trucks are just ridiculous now. So we've done that. We've spent some time and some money rebuilding the utility box on one of the other pickup trucks, and we've been able to keep that around. So I think because there are some new parts on that 1-ton, the dump body is only, how old is that?
Maybe 4 years old.
4 or 5 years old, that we replaced because the original one actually rotted away. It's not a hook and lift, but it's basically a slide-on that adapts to the existing frame. So if we can find a cabin chassis new with the same frame rail size, we can save a lot of money by swapping that over.
Right.
You know, the 1-ton does have a plow, not a big deal to have another truck with a plow. We have the smaller trucks, which are easy to maneuver, you know, the regular pickup trucks. But it's an option, so we definitely would get it with four-wheel drive, like the big truck has it, just because of the environments that we go into. I mean, here alone, you can get stuck in the yard, you know, if you have a bad winter. So I think that might be the best option in the future, is to piece that truck out, save what we can, you know, sell off what we can on municipal and look for a cabin chassis. You know, it's not the ideal situation, but we do have people here, you know, myself, John, and everybody else that can work on things. And, you know, you really cut your zeros down by what you're looking for.
I was gonna ask at the end, but we're talking about vehicles.
Yeah.
I know when there was a looming railroad strike, that was gonna affect us big time. Is the UAW strike having a potential effect on us at all as far as?
It will.
It will,
Yeah. I think it'll be a delayed reaction.
That's what I was wondering,
Because,
yeah.
you know, there's still some vehicles out in the market right now. We actually met with a supplier. The truck that we just got came from a company called MHQ, you know, very well known, very understaffed, which is obviously why it took so long. And there's another company that we met up with, I can't think of the name. Colonial. We went to a trade show last week, and they actually had 2 trucks, exact what we would have spec'd, you know, one was a regular cab utility body, another was an extra cab utility body. They were ready to sell right there.
Well,
Where anywhere else you go and you're waiting a year.
yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing something right. They have the contacts right or something, and the prices weren't any different because they're on the state bid list. So they're definitely gonna be the new go-to.
Yeah.
So on the bid? It's nice to know, huh?
That's good to know.
Very nice to know. So that will be the next thing that we're going to try. We did learn actually at the, was it Capitol? With the Ford Lightnings?
Yes.
Yeah, so the town is actually asking for 3 vehicles. The fully electric Ford F-150 Lightning. There was some talk about rebates being available years back when the shortage of vehicles came out and there were issues with the chips and everything like that. They basically became non-existent. Somehow now the town has found that there's a supplier that has 3 of these vehicles. We believe it could be the Colonial dealer that we just met.
Right.
So that might be something that we look at. The town is supposed to have a certain percentage of, electric or green vehicles.
Based on what?
I don't know,
Is it-
if it's
it's not
population
law,
or
right?
something.
It's-
No,
No, it's based on all the specs of the truck, miles per gallon, weight, whole thing, because we went through that with, I'm getting a new truck. And we had to go through the whole green questions and answers.
John's.
But it's recommendational, right? It's not like that by law the town has to have
No,
X
I think
percentage.
it's,
No,
electric
we
vehicles.
just-
it's incentive-based, I believe.
'Cause I know Mansfield's got a bunch of electric police vehicles. A bunch, I think, a couple.
Yeah, before it
can't
was
tell
the
difference.
hybrids were the big deal, now they're trying to go full electric. And we'd be, very interested in looking at taking a couple on, obviously if they're affordable. You still have to do the charging stations and things like that, depending on where they're gonna be
You can always
housed.
use mine.
Does it have four-wheel drive?
But your vehicle or your charging station?
No, I want the vehicle.
Can't have my vehicle.
So definitely something we're gonna look at in the near future, possibly in the spring. If we can acquire one for a reasonable cost, or even if it's slightly higher than the gas comparison, it'd be worth trying out. I mean, we put a lot of mileage on our vehicles, especially the training guys put a ton of mileage on, taking samples, running to the lab. So we could definitely put it through its paces and see if it's something.
It's all
that will
local
work out.
stuff too, so it's not like you're worrying about the
Right.
charging inefficiencies or whatever.
So that may be
Is there any
something.
charge stations in Norton?
At Town Hall.
And
They
the
do?
library, in the library,
The library as well?
yep.
Well,
And
we would
Mr.
put one
Bernstein's
here if
house.
we
In
had,
my house.
if we had one, right?
What's that?
We would put one here.
Oh,
if we had
definitely, we would
one,
install
obviously.
it, yeah.
It's
Install one
no,
or two.
it's a no-brainer, really. It's, everybody makes a big deal out of it. It's very simple.
Right, I know there's limitations, obviously we couldn't plow with the vehicle, which, okay, that's fine, we have a few that we can't plow with now. I'm sure it's got limitations on what we could tow with it, but we're not gonna hook an excavator up to the back of it, I think it'd be
Yeah, I
perfectly
don't know
fine.
what its capability is for towing for those trucks. I haven't looked at the specs on those.
Right.
I mean, I'm no interest in.
Again, it's local stuff, so the
I think-
range doesn't really come into
Yeah.
play.
Right. No, I think it'd be a good option for the town to look at something like that, so. What else? Is that it?
Near Cottage Street?
If you want to test drive my
there's more,
Tesla,
but-
by the way, I'd be more than happy to do that for anybody who's interested.
Very good to know, you just announced that to the world.
I'm trying to sell Teslas, so I own stock.
What you say, Cottage Street?
Storage tank, aeration system?
Yep, Tara and I had a few emails going back and forth about going out to bid for the aeration system. I actually just spoke with a representative from a company that installs these, and they were questioning the purpose of the aeration and not having a mixer. So I don't know enough about it, so I was gonna reach out to Tara and see.
The original quote was for both.
Is it?
So
Okay.
we were gonna evaluate it and put a design. We haven't started, we haven't given you a contract,
Right.
but this is the next phase. So we had originally put in for the second round of Balkan Clause 2, which didn't get funded. So we have the Cottage Street elevated study to perform, plus we're gonna do a separate, because it is separate articles, we'll have a separate contract for the study for the aeration and design.
Just to
For
make-
the
Like a
ground
pack, like a
storage.
pack system, like a PAX aerator, mixer?
Yeah, I mean, so the
Similar-
aeration process, I mean, the whole purpose of that is more to, break down the THMs, but the
Yeah.
and mixing in general is just you've got 2 million gallons out there that
Yeah,
doesn't
we
turn
have,
over.
we have
so-
one in Mansfield.
Yeah.
We have a
So either
PAX
the,
system.
there's 3-4 different types of,
Yeah.
different mixing types that we'll recommend, but.
It's literally this big.
Yeah.
It looks like a cone.
Yeah, so you have the little tripod with
Yeah.
the little spinner,
Yeah.
yeah. So the packs, and then there's also the grid bead that sits on the bottom, or you can have, so
Yeah.
just more or less a water fan, more or less, to just move, adjust the striation and have.
But you have to bring power in, right? I mean, that's,
I mean, there is, I mean, they're pretty minimum, but yeah, they're very low draw.
but there isn't any power in there now, right?
You have
The-
power to your ground storage because you pump to the elevator, right? You got a
There
light,
is no power
On
in
the
the
lights.
tank.
a light?
There is
Must
no
be
power
lights.
in the tank,
Yeah,
but
lights,
there is
right.
lights.
The lights
Not on
and
ground,
stuff.
on ground storage, no.
Oh, and ground storage.
Elevated, yes.
Yeah, so you have, but that's,
Something.
it's just, well,
It is literally the distance of this table apart from the building, and so getting power there is not gonna be. an
yeah,
issue.
that stuff is not, yeah, I'm not too concerned.
The aeration system is basically just bubbling ambient air into the water, right? It's-
Right.
They just put tubes in strategic
Pretty,
locations.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, there's different styles and,
Yeah.
And it would vent any THMs that are forming from the stagnation of the water, to the atmosphere. So, that's our main target. Obviously, if the aeration in the mixer is a better option, obviously we want to go with the better option. So that'll be coming in the near future. The other thing that you may see, I don't believe it's going to make this town meeting article. Way back when, I believe we're going back to the 80s.
Yeah, it's not gonna be on this article.
The select
It's not
board
gonna be on this warrant.
granted an easement to property that was behind the elevated storage tank. So if you look at our property now where the driveway is, the driveway to the property line to the house to the left is 40 feet wide. They gave an easement from Cottage Street to the fence, because at the time, the water department or the town didn't own the land where our pump station and our ground storage tank are now. Okay. I know it was a family.
Yeah.
So now they're the people that had the easement and have land behind ours, and they want to gain access to it. Well, you can't go through our building.
No.
You can't go around because there's a stream and our septic and stuff there. So there's been discussions, we've met on site with their engineers about possibly transferring the easement that's on the left to the right side of the property, over there, the rest of the family there, running it down the fence line, and that would allow them access to the landlocked properties out back. And they're looking to do either a solar farm or possibly a couple houses out there.
Well, didn't that get proposed, the town meeting got shut down, they're gonna put a solar farm?
That was a different solar farm, I think.
Fogarty's, wanted to do something out in the woods,
He
maybe?
did, I just don't know how he was gonna get access to it.
Yeah.
I think that was actually at the,
Was that
at
similar
his
area?
recycle
Similar-
yard.
It's gotta be similar area.
It's gotta be very close, yeah. So, yeah, it did get shot down, whether it's the same thing or something very similar.
Okay.
But I think you're right, I think it's in the same
Close to
area.
that, wouldn't it? Yeah.
So we would be willing to give up that easement because it actually serves no purpose to anybody being there, because that's actually the site where we want to do an investigation to move and put a new elevated tank.
Yeah.
So having an easement there already kind of puts an X on what we want to do, where we want to put it. There's other spots we could go in front of the tank, or we could possibly even go between the existing tank and the ground storage tank. We're looking at possibly putting a smaller elevated tank in that footprint, something similar to what's at the center, cement base, glass lined, and doing away with the tank from 1957. So,
Tara, I have a quick question about the Cottage Street, the aerator.
Mhm.
The money that was approved at town meeting, I'm drawing a blank. Is that for research or was that for?
Design through construction.
So it was
Yes.
designed through
Yep.
construction. Okay.
Yep.
Had we already gone and asked for money for, like, researching what was the best one, or was? Because I
That's,
remember
that's included in our design, we
Yeah.
already,
We had it on our capital plan for multiple years, and I couldn't remember where we had acted on it.
yeah,
where
so
we
there
had,
is
so-
money there for investigation, basically a phase one for the elevated tank replacement.
That's what.
That's
That's
what
the
you're
other
thinking
money
of?
I'm
Yep.
thinking of.
Yep.
That was like
So-
180,000.
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah. Okay.
So knowing now that, we stumbled upon this mystery easement that was there, obviously that needs to be taken care of, to open that as an area
Is that,
for us.
is that basically up to us to move it to the right side? Is it our call, or what do we do to do that?
Honestly, I don't know. Hopefully that what's been proposed and what we believe would work in that area,
Yep.
would go through to town meeting, I believe the select board, because they initially granted this original easement,
Okay.
you know, may have to be the ones to, you know, approve and give the second one. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of things have changed back since then till now.
Yeah.
About who has the authority to grant, you know, an easement on our property. So it definitely might be a multi-board vote.
Yeah.
That's all I got for my fun stuff.
All right.
Okay, I'll continue. So, so to be clear, yes, so the Cottage Street tank, there's the elevated tank that we had a whole storage study. We're gonna basically evaluate the needs of the town, decide, and we are 100% on board with, you know, Frank's option to not repaint that tank and actually resize it and or just straight up replace it to work on it. But that it is conditional on having the land to make sure that we have the space for that, so that whatever easement plans that you're.
Are we gonna
you're looking at
dismantle it,
right now.
or are they gonna, we need to leave it up?
So it's a $500,000, it's not a huge,
Yeah.
you know, you've got a lot of other water, but it does adjust your system, so that would be part of what we discussed on how we phase that. If you have enough land to construct something to keep that in operation at the same time, that would be the goal, but if we're trying to squeeze it in between the existing tank and the two existing tanks, the elevated and the ground, they do need some space, especially if we're gonna be putting up a concrete cylinder with a, you know, glass fuse tank on top, so. So we'll evaluate that in the first half, and then concurrently, we'll go forward with the evaluation, which turned is pretty quickly into a design for the aeration and mixer system for the Cottage Street storage tank, so. So I'll have those contracts emailed over before our next meeting for you guys to all look at. And then, and that is, so, and then I think there was discussion, I think I had sent you an email, but I believe Bernie 5+ years ago had appropriated a certain portion of money to paint that tank, which potentially might be in some of those funds that, you know,
Yeah.
they're trying to consolidate over at Town Hall from years past, but.
Brooke, you ready to do some research tomorrow?
Sure, yeah, it might be 900,000, that's what I have on my records from
Yeah, 800
2017
something,
or something
the
like
last
that,
time
yeah.
we talked about
Right.
getting that painted.
Which I remember when he said his price, and we said, well, that's.
And that had already been appropriated?
Allegedly, he had this is again what we hear, so I don't know. So there might be some research to be done, but when I first started, like 6 years ago or so, when I first started talking about this, I think that was what I had been told was, oh, I already budgeted for that, don't worry about it.
Available to us to use for this. That's
Right.
fantastic if that's the case.
Well, we've already also,
Very
yes, and then
outside.
the next
Yeah.
part would be to appropriate the balance if you have it. But the thought would be that we would aim for the Springtown meeting to provide an article for that.
Nice.
My initials are up on that, I don't want that painted over. So that way we can,
You wanna we can carve it out and save it?
Cut that piece out, right?
There's a ladder,
Notes.
don't you worry.
no, I know.
That's awesome.
So then, I think we've really talked about Balfour enough. I didn't need to get into that again, but, so we'll provide Steve with our final, you know, write-up for that scope, and we'll get that in for them for review. And we'll just move forward, it sounds like, with that, even though, you know, because we're just gonna work directly with the developers on that, so. The next question, you had sent me an email today, 'cause I think that a lot of the questions came up from finance.
Yeah.
So, the Wells 5 and 6, the Auchincloss EPA, so I believe we got an email about trying to set up another meeting to just regroup. It's my understanding, and we will confirm this, but we can, we've moved forward with the actual application, and we've clarified a few items with them. I was a little confused by his email, so maybe we'll just have another regroup, but we'll just see what dates next week he's available and just meet again. As far as that goes, though, I think you do want to just move forward with well 4 at this point, and I think what we had talked about previously was, you know, and I believe we got confirmation, we'll just make sure, because that was a few months ago, and I always like to just make sure nothing changed on the federal side, but get 3 quotes for the drilling portion of the work, and that would be reimbursable under the funding, and then as far as engineering goes, you would pay that directly on our end. And then, again, obviously, we go out to bid for the actual construction of the replacement well and move forward with that. So I don't think there seem to be any hangups. And then on your end, though, we have to put numbers into our application, which is previously spent money, and I know Chris had put together some numbers. We just need to go re-evaluate that, and then we'll need to, once we, move forward, we have to provide them with actual pay subs and, or at least documentation of what the actual hourly rates are from when we first started 2021-ish, 2022-ish, inspecting the wells, test wells all the way up through future, so it's the money is there, it's just, it's a little painful to get it, so we're one step closer.
We're just being extra cautious about it because of, as John had mentioned, the payback on borrowing. If we go in too soon,
Right.
we can only short-term borrow for so long before it starts to have an impact, and any monies that we pay towards the borrowing isn't reimbursable. So it's kind of a chess game that you play.
Yeah, we haven't spent any money because we didn't know what was actually going to be, grant reimbursable. There's the maximum amount, and we've been attempting to find matching funds that the water department has obviously provided services over the last couple of years to try to balance that out. And then as far as the what's been spent, I mean, the town had appropriated their own money before we even knew that this was going to be happening. So for at least wells 5 and 6. So hopefully by next meeting I'll have a little bit.
Good.
Another turtle crossing, maybe, or movement of the turtle.
Turtle crossing.
Sorry, I had to. So South Worcester East Hodges, good news, the railroad said by the end of the week they'll give us an update on where they're at, so that's a good sign. Everything pretty much has been complete. I have the design plans just for a final review for you guys. I don't anticipate any changes on the railroad's end of things. We are just lining underneath that spot, so hopefully it'll be quick, but that's what we thought the first railroad company we worked with, and then we have the second one that was very responsive initially, and then they've been, we would check in every couple weeks and nothing. So, but we did hear back, so sign of life.
Wear that hat next time, maybe they'll see it.
Yeah.
So is that under a current license agreement? Is that-
No, that's what we're trying to
That's the
get
problem,
approval
yeah.
of, and we worked for about 6 months with one of the groups, and then when we submitted our application, based on what they said, yep, that looks good, and then they told us after a few weeks, oh, that's not our property. So after we'd already confirmed that that was their property with them, but it's fine, we'll keep moving on. Everybody's short-staffed, we just roll with it. Good news, Concom was great. We went through with the approved plans. We have an order of conditions. So really the only thing that's holding us up from bidding for South Worcester is at this point final proof for you guys if you want to take a look at the last set of plans I have with me, and then getting the railroad. Now, depending on the update on Friday, at next meeting we might want to just discuss if they have an anticipated date. You can always go out to bid without it and then hope in the 6th year or so that you're going to be under construction, start in East Hodges and then move to South Worcester. So we can cross that bridge. I just don't have any information from them about their timing yet.
What's the length of that?
3,900 feet, I think.
Yeah, the total is close to 8,000, I think, for both projects, or both streets. It's a little over a mile and a half, about a mile and a half.
Maybe he's talking.
3,700?
I think Hodges is 38.
We cut it too because we think that the existing main is actually not, it doesn't need to be replaced, but we'll dig
Exactly.
some test bits.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do some basic, I have plans, Steve, if you want to see the plan. Let me just make sure, I also have record drawings of wells 5 and 6. That's well 5 and 6.
Is well 4, they're gonna drill, is that close to the existing well?
So
We did move a decent distance away further from the water to get a better soil quality. But it's not that far from the existing. There weren't that many good points down there, unfortunately.
these are the Concom sets, so you get color.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Looks like Megan's handwriting.
Beautiful layouts here. So I want to say that maybe South Worcester's 4,800 and East Hodges was maybe 2,700 or something like that.
I had it in an email I just sent. If I think I can find it, that'd be great.
Overall, it was roughly 8,200 sticks in my mind right now, but I think that's what so it's ARPA funded, designed through construction, and the goal was to go out to bid this summer, and so we're just kind of still holding on to hope that we'll get that railroad permit sooner than later, but have this constructed pipeline in the ground next year. And I think at this point, we were planning on just permanent trench patch. I don't think we were thinking of any curb to curb or anything like that, but we can talk about that. It really, I think at that point, it's dependent on what funding you have available, so.
So this is under a lane, travel lane, mostly?
Yeah, it's a very narrow street, so, yeah, and this is the railroad.
Where you're starting from?
We're basically just at Barrows on
Barrows
South
Street,
Worcester,
okay.
and then we go all the way down to,
Ian Rogers.
sorry, I just blocked the entire screen.
Yeah, Barrows, it starts at Barrow Street on South Worcester, goes around,
5,600 maybe.
passes Charles,
37?
and the connection will be at Parker Court. So we did a small section of water main where the old Cisco building
That's
is on
4,900
South Worcester.
linear feet for South Worcester and
They did not
21.5
replace in
for
front of
East Hodges
Cisco,
Street. But
because
that
at
was
the time
based
it was still
on
functional.
So 7,000.
our capital
It goes from ductile
improvement
back to
plan.
AC,
So if you said
back to
that
ductal.
there was a
And then
little
goes
bit
up to
that
the
maybe
corner
we
where
didn't
Parker
need,
Court
that
is.
might be
We're gonna
a little much,
connect
but
onto that left piece that was updated there.
that's what we had when we initially.
That's
I think
all
when-
on that side of Johnson.
Yeah,
ARPA money.
pre-design, I think those are the numbers
Hodges is
we
the
were
other side
looking
though,
at.
right?
Yeah, Hodges is totally separate on the opposite
It's,
side.
yeah, it's nearby, but it's just, it's not too complicated, but, pretty much intersection
Oh, there it is.
at Dean and then heading,
Not so
I
much.
think,
Hodges
more or
was
less
our
we're stopping
problem area. We
here.
had
Originally, the
multiple
plan was to go to
failures down
Myers
there.
Way, but this.
The reason we focused on South
Records
Worcester
indicate
is
that this
because
should
of
be
the
ductile,
age and
but we'll
material.
take some,
There's a lot
test
of,
bits and
uh,
confirm. For Concom, we have
services down
permitted to
there
do
with
the whole
goosenecks.
thing, so.
So as part of our target to remove the lead service goosenecks, that was our focus on that. That's how we move forward with that. You know, it's one of the older streets in town. So
That's important.
That was a big focus, that we're getting rid of that. Another one that we might move forward in the near future is actually Pleasant Street. Same age. We do have verification that there are iron pipe services over there at more than 3 locations, which indicates pretty much certain the rest of the road's going to be. So,
Does anybody want a PDF of this? Look at the plans and, I mean, you're gonna keep the hard copy, I'll leave this with you.
It's got colors on it too.
You know,
Who did the highlighting?
that's a nice print in CAD.
Sweet.
I do miss the days of actually getting the highlighter out there very carefully. So again, so we have the order conditions, so that's in pretty good shape, and we'll talk next meeting about potential bidding, if we get some favorable outcome from.
Have been recorded? Or not yet?
We had to wait 10 days, and I believe we cut checks last week to pay, because you guys can't cut your own checks, so we are gonna drive them down and record them. I think I actually have a certificate of compliance from one of the other jobs, so. I shouldn't have said that.
You're on.
Oh, wait,
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No official, okay. No,
You sure?
I'm all set.
Excellent. All right, a lot of this stuff is already covered. So Cobb Street Phase 1, since the last meeting, we did get to do the official startup. So you are now operating on the new generator at Cobb Street. There were a couple bumps right afterwards, but we got those worked out.
yeah, we couldn't recreate that scenario, so I guess that's a good thing, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll pop back up later on.
Yeah.
Just a strange sequence of events, so.
Okay.
Get our lighting done? Our lighting's done there that we talked about? Was that the same place? Remember there was a lighting issue with the electric company?
Yep. So the lights aren't in yet. I don't remember anything with an issue with the electrical.
Oh,
company.
Fall
Conduit
River
issue.
Electric,
Was
right?
it conduit?
Fall River.
Yeah, it was the wrong kind of conduit.
Conduit.
Oh, that got resolved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that got taken care of. So the only thing they have left to do out there is the lights in the well, I think, and they're scheduled to come back up soon.
Did they relocate the cabinet on that generator yet? I haven't physically been there in a little while.
All right, Cobb Street?
Yeah. Remember it was set up facing one way and it was supposed to be facing the other way, or?
Oh, yeah, yes, I think they did. do
Okay.
that. They were supposed to take care of that at the same time, so. So we'll stay on them to just get things wrapped up so we can close out the Phase 1. So Phase 2, we had the bid opening on August 10th. and as we've already discussed. So we got the bid numbers, came in a little higher than what we had. We did send, so there were 3 bidders. We sent letters to all of them asking them to extend their bids. And they all sent them back, and so the bids are good till, I think, November 7th now, with town meeting on October 23rd. So you just need to get the additional money approved, and then we can award to the local. And we've already, we're prepared, we've already sent the recommendation to award to them pending funding.
So we're waiting for town meeting to approve that money. And
Yeah,
we can
and then you can
vote here.
award. Yep.
You obviously can't sign a contract until you have the money.
You got the money, right?
That's not legal.
Holly Road and Knollwood, they put in the ATSs at those. They did it twice at Knollwood. It's the second time it's in the correct spot, so that's all set. The generators are still, they tell us, still scheduled for delivery in November. The gas company's gone silent again, weekly emails, so, the last with the gas company was they finally figured out what they needed to do, sent you a contract with a cost. Frank signed the contracts, you guys authorized to send the money, so the checks
They've been
have
paid.
been sent, they've been paid. They just haven't come out and done the work. So they can install the generators, but they won't be able to hook them up until the gas company does get it.
Wonder,
So
are these
we're trying
both
to stay
National
on
Grid?
them.
It's both National Grid?
Eversource.
It's Eversource.
They're both
Eversource.
Eversource, yeah.
Who was Cobb Street? Eversource?
Yes.
Yeah, all Eversource.
Then I'm wondering if we still have that contact of the
Similar.
guy that
The extra.
actually
person that we
helped
found.
got the job done at
The
Cobb
one that
Street.
Howard-
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely can't hurt to
So
look.
we'll send, and you guys are copied, I think, on the emails that go, and there was one sent earlier this week. So we just gotta stay on them, but other than that, that's moving along. We talked about the peer reviews, I think we're good on that stuff, so we will get going. The Balfour Farm one, we can turn around pretty quick, and then we'll get on for the sewer on Zero Reservoir. We'll get going on that too. Elm Street, we did go out and do some survey last week out there just to pick up the sills and some of the information that we didn't have. I do want to get the borings lined up soon. That's probably the next step, so that way we have all the field information to move forward with that design.
What we envision
Just-
just soiled up the Elm Street.
It's,
Lots of ledge,
yeah.
Okay.
unfortunately.
So we have some testing from when the water main design was done 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, we did
Time
geoprobes
period.
along Reservoir and Elm, but mostly for determining some of the contamination, if there was any concerns.
Yeah.
But again, water main's a lot shallower, so.
Yep, so we've got to supplement that information with some.
Was it granite?
some tests.
No, it's shale, it'll break. I mean, it
Okay.
just depends on how close it is and what it's attached to.
Yeah, we didn't hit too much in Reservoir, but,
Reservoir wasn't horrible except when you got near the corner of Elm.
Right.
And then as you come
That's-
up the hill on
our
Elm.
contractor was happy he wasn't going down Elm, I think.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna be a tough road.
Steve, just curious, was there a preliminary estimated I know not doing borings is hard to give. Was there like a
yeah, I
estimated
think
cost
it-
to begin with?
I think it was just under 5 million, 4.8 million. I don't have that folder with me, so I don't.
Just curious.
Yep, yeah, I think that's ballpark where we're at.
You don't anticipate being out there next week doing any borings, do you?
No,
Okay, the only reason I'm saying it, the fire department's gonna be doing some training at that building.
okay,
And, shuttling fire trucks and things around, so just,
that wouldn't be a good week.
wouldn't be a good week to be out there.
All right.
Well, you should probably check with everybody anyways.
Yeah,
What the
before we go out,
story is.
yeah, we've got to.
I mean, borings don't typically impact too much, but depending on what they're doing, if they have trucks lined up in the road or anything like that, might impact your area.
Yep. I think that's all I got.
Awesome.
I got one that I thought of on the drive in today.
All right.
I noticed the drive coming in, there's some, it looks like they're fairly new asphalt patches fixing some,
I think it's just
Oh, they're not landmines? I just kind of ignored, like, no.
I thought it was just fun.
Is paving our driveway something we want to consider doing ever?
That's funny you say that. I've been researching such a thing
Excellent.
in the last
I think
month.
we should do it.
The issue is, among others, cost.
Obviously.
So if we were to do it, it's probably much more likely that we're paving from where the driveway basically squares off here, back this way. Not as much from
Oh,
there
really?
to the road.
Okay.
As far as maintaining our equipment and maintaining the yard when it.
What about the wear and
Snows.
tear on the road that all the equipment has to constantly travel in and out?
Yeah, well, you have to choose your battles. So I mean, it's do you want? It's gonna be you have the same thing here. So it's like I mean, I think there was some money left in the account from when this place was originally constructed, and we were gonna kind of work with Highway probably in the spring to see if we could be added into what they were planning on doing. Went through Surge and stuff like that, but.
I was just curious, I wanted to ask
It's,
you.
it's
That's why
definitely,
I'm driving over right now,
it's
remember,
definitely
but
been considered.
it wouldn't sound like that.
We've
If
looked
you
at
do-
it many times.
Yeah, and if you do, it seems like if we keep it under a certain square footage, we wouldn't have to have it engineered for conservation purposes,
Okay,
so.
so maybe you do it in different phases throughout the.
Yeah, we're not sure if that's a
Completely different projects that have
loophole
nothing to do
or,
with the first,
yeah,
Those
so.
are called loopholes in the law.
Yeah, as far as.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, as far as, you know, like you said, wear and tear on the vehicles, dust in the garage, dirt all over the place. It's much
Car
more
wash,
practical
yeah.
to have it paved here
That actually makes
first
sense.
than going out there.
It does.
So, you know, I mean, you have a windy day here, and it's like if the garage door is
Yeah,
open
I
at any
bet.
point, everything's just covered, and you need to wash everything. So, yeah.
So we have a new highway department, we have a new director? Is Jared new?
He was the foreman for a long time.
He's not new, but he's got a new position.
He's been hired as director of the highway department?
He is-
Superintendent.
He's the highway superintendent.
Oh, highway superintendent,
Yes,
oh,
yes,
okay,
yes.
not the DPW thing.
No, no.
Okay.
And I believe the foreman also changed places?
Yeah,
Or
so,
lead technician, I forget how they
yeah, so
classify it.
Jared's been with the town, I think, maybe close to 10 years, close to 10 years. He was foreman for probably 3. Got the superintendent's job. George, who's been here probably at least 25, if not 30 years, was appointed to foreman. And then they had created a new lead operator position or something along those lines as well. But yes, Jared is the new
You have a good relationship with
superintendent.
Jared?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's a
Nice,
Yep.
that's all I have.
I have nothing.
I don't believe it.
I'm gonna second that.
I know, it's surprising.
Next meeting is the 10th?
October 10th is what I have.
Really?
Is that all right? Okay with you guys?
Better not be a tornado, because I'm gonna be on a beach,
Where you going?
North Carolina.
You can zoom in.
Nope.
Well, who's going?
I don't think they
My
have.
phone's staying in
They don't have internet
on that.
They don't have internet there. so-
No Zoom
no.
capabilities for that
Yeah,
meeting.
that
I
meeting's
guess.
broken already.
All right, well,
All right, then.
without further ado.
Well, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody, thank you.